last spoke, I've got a brand new bundle of joy, but still got time to talk about the news. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, March 29th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in the video game news. First thing I want to talk about was Lucy James over at GameSpot had a 5-hour preview of Judas, and she got to share a little bit of her thoughts on the game. I'm very excited for Judas. Judas is the next game from Ken Levine. Ken Levine, most notably known for making the BioShock series. And so people have kind of looked at Judas and said, hey, is this BioShock in space? And yeah, it kind of looks like that, but there's a little bit more stuff that gets broken down. There's a roguelike portion of it, which sounds pretty cool, that you're running around this ship and potentially getting cloned or something like that would be my guess. And then trying to work with 3 different factions, and you got to slowly figure out which faction leader you want to be working for, but get pulled in several different directions. There's also kind of it sounds like Ken Levine has delivered on the promise of like narrative Legos, in that there will be replay value because there were pieces that you just won't get based on who you side with as you play through Judas, which sounds like it's going to have a lot there and a lot of depth that you're going to be able to check out. But just the roguelike element sounded like it adds quite a bit to it. So yeah, and some of the enemies just look crazy. We got to see a little bit of gameplay, but yeah, I'm very excited for Judas, and probably one of my most anticipated games right now as a massive BioShock fan. So looking forward to more details in the coming weeks. Another vampire video game has added Castlevania to its repertoire of DLC. V Rising, one of my favorite vampire games the last half decade, is adding Simon Belmont for players to fight. So if you're strong enough, you got a strong enough vampire running around, maybe you'll be able to take out Castlevania's protagonist, Simon Belmont. Remedy talked a little bit about their Control multiplayer this week. The big keynotes were that it will not be free to play. You would expect a lot of multiplayer games are going free to play nowadays, but that's not how Remedy wants to do it. So there'll be a low cost of entry, which I don't know what low means, but people would hope it was like $20, but I'm expecting maybe it's a $40 buy-in. But then it'll also have live service elements, which is basically code for it'll have a battle pass. And so I'm curious what it'll be on a Control multiplayer battle pass. I also don't remember if this is PvP or like cooperative. So I don't remember too much. I don't remember trying to drag up all the stuff that I remember about the Control multiplayer that I've heard so little about. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do and what low cost of entry and live service features, especially with how third rail live service features are nowadays. I'm curious how they can do it right, but I trust Remedy because they'd make great games and usually don't do the fans dirty. So looking forward to what they come up with. Probably the biggest piece of news this week was a big major acquisition. So Embracer is still continuing to try and make up the money they lost from the nebulous $2 billion deal that fell through. And so this week they sold off Gearbox Publishing to Take-Two for $460 million. So about a quarter of $2 billion they're trying to make up. They also previously sold off Saber Interactive for a couple $100 million. So they're slowly clawing their way back that $2 billion that they, I guess, need. But yeah, if anyone was going to get Gearbox, it was going to be Take-Two, because I think the original Borderlands games were published under Take-Two. So yeah, I think this is I think the more Embracer can kind of divest, it seems like they're trying to divest as much as they can. Unfortunately, to the tune of like 1,300 people losing their jobs and a lot of dead games and studios. But I think anything Embracer loses is going to be to the benefit of the rest of us, as whoever buys that will be able to resurrect it, because I'm not sure what Embracer's doing with a lot of what they're working on. So Yeah, I think hopefully we get. I also got wind this week that another Borderlands game is being worked on, and so that probably makes a lot of sense for Take Two. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what Take Two, how Take Two can revitalize some of the Gearbox content. And I sounds like Phil Spencer was making the rounds this week, or at least a lot of what, or at least was talking a lot on a single podcast. This week he talked about the idea of a portable Xbox, and that there might already be prototypes for it. I know that the handheld kind of PC game has been kind of out there. We've already got the PlayStation Portal, so I'm curious what kind of Xbox can do. But the fact that they're so interconnected with like PC and console, I think will make it a stronger selling, feature rich piece of hardware than potentially the PlayStation Portal. So yeah, I'm very curious what Xbox kind of can do in that arena. We've kind of I think I'm curious what the rest of the market is. I'm pretty sure the Steam Deck is probably the dominant piece of hardware on the market. I don't have any numbers to support that. That's just kind of my gut check on that because I don't really see Razers or Lenovo's out on the wild, but I do see Steam Decks out in the wild, and I own one. So I'm a little bit biased, but I'm very curious what it kind of breaks down and what kind of people, what wedges can be implemented in there to get with Xbox or someone else trying to get into that space. So also he talked about bringing third-party platforms to Xbox. Getting Steam on your Xbox console would be great, or Nvidia Go or whatever their portable streaming platform is. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on Xbox, but the idea of an Xbox portable, I think, is something that will interest a lot of people. And having my entire Game Pass library accessed portably would be pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from that. Indie devs discussed this week that the kind of well of money that they've been pulling from to kind of get their games jump started, like the Xbox or the Epic exclusives and like the Game Passes of the world, that well of money is drying up. I assume, a couple months ago, Phil Spencer talked about how Game Pass wasn't profitable, and so that kind of gave us a look into this like streaming service within games. It maybe not as profitable as it may seem. So I assume that's why that amount of money is drying up. Also, cuts means less people can work on different projects and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully these anyone who's trying to look for a game or develop a game can pull from the well of people who lost their jobs recently but still want to be in the games industry, and maybe form their own studios. And I think publishing, the barrier to entry for publishing is a lot lower nowadays than it was even a decade ago. So hopefully indie devs can still kind of figure out where to find some funds and could then make their games and dreams come true. But the kind of the easy money of like Epic and Game Pass apparently is not there, at least according to a couple indie devs sharing stories on the internet, on the social medias this week. So I'm very curious where that there always has to exist something for them to turn to. So I'm curious what the like go to is now if Epic and Game Pass aren't there. So if you have any information about that, I'd be curious to hear from you. So leave a comment down below. To celebrate the upcoming Fallout TV series, Amazon is partnering up with Arizona Tea to give you a Fallout themed can for Arizona Tea. This was actually a restock. I didn't even know that they existed, but I got the information about the restock this week. I've already pre-ordered my Arizona teas. It's I made it. There's like a small joke in there about like the show being set in L.A. but having Arizona tea and not New Vegas because you go to Arizona and New Vegas. But I digress. Huge Fallout fan, so a lot of little lore tidbits in there. But if you want to celebrate the upcoming Fallout TV show like I do, and you like yourself some Arizona tea, feel free to check that out. I'll have a link down below in the description. Got to see a few details, or at least hear about a few details of the Dune Awakening MMO survival mechanics, and how they won't be as tedious as other survival games. Read a cool, I think, PC Gamer article. I'll have a link down below to which article I was reading. But like gathering rocks is always pretty boring and tedious in survival games. But this one has a little bit of a mini game in that, and then you get like a laser, and you have to like trace the laser around the bits to get rocks more efficiently. And the most important thing was just diving into the the water mechanic, and I assume that's going to be the lifeblood of the game, literally and figuratively. Is just how do you manage your water while you're running around on Arrakis. So yeah, and it's like you're gonna start out. You don't have a still suit yet, so you can't recycle your body's water. So you have to go out and get water from things, but you can't rely on the like quick fixes for too long because it doesn't work. So like you can only drink blood for so long, which is a thing that it actually happens in the books. You can only drink blood of other people for so long. You can only drink from like the cacti or the plant life for so long before those become not viable anymore. And then once you have a still suit, like that helps replenish it and gives you a second like water bar that you can manage. So sounds like a really cool way. Like managing hunger and thirst in survival games is usually pretty tedious, but sounds like Dune might be doing it right. So I'll have a link for you to check that out down below. A RTS coming out of GDC last week gives you the real, God's eye perspective, and sends you, really has you commanding an army of ants. In that you were actually literally commanding an army of ants. It's an RTS where you play like an ant colony, and you have to like try and dominate the area around you, which I think is really cool. It kind of reminds me of like a Pikmin type thing where I assume you're gonna like send out ants to go collect resources, and so gathering all those resources is very like Pikmin to me. Yeah, just a really cool perspective of RTSs. So I thought Empire of Ants looks pretty cool. So I'll have a link down below for you to check that out. And last but not least, another GDC darling coming out was Screenbound. Screenbound has a character staring at a 2-bit screen. So most of your field of view is taken up by a 2-bit or a 2D screen, but you're actually living in a 3D world, and so you'll have enemies you have to fight and jump over, and worlds that you have to traverse, but you're only given the information of the 2D world. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how you can kind of navigate that, and how those two perspectives kind of make your brain feel tingly. So I assume that's going to be a lot of what we get in Screenbound. So caught my eye this week, and let me know if you think it looks cool too. That's it for the week. Let me know if I forgot anything for the week down below in the comments. But as always, I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend, and I hope you have a super day. Bye.